Also, disclaimer, I have a little puppy. His name is Ernie, and he might make a cameo in this because I cannot get him to calm down, so.
Hello everybody, it's Val, and I'm super excited to have Abby Jaros from the Hamilton National Tour on my channel. She was originally part of the Philip Company, but now she's joining the Angelica Company for the upcoming Hamilton National Tour. So yeah, let's just get right into the questions. So the first question is, how did you get started with theater?
I have been dancing since I was 5, so I've been dancing for 22 years now, which is so crazy. And I started there, and then when I went to high school, I joined American Musical Theater, which was AMT at Boca High. And it was the only way I could dance in high school. There wasn't really a dance team at the time when I entered, so it was the closest thing I could get. I did my first musical and I fell in love with it, and that's how that started.
Did you major in theater, and is there a specific lesson that you still apply today?
Now this one I had to think about because there's so many things, but the one thing, yes, I did. I studied my BFA for my BFA in musical theater and also my dance minor at the University of Central Florida. I was thinking about this one, and there are so many answers that I could give you, but one of the biggest ones was, there's the curriculum in college is so insane, and you really have to practice time management, and your schedule in New York City is so insane. So practicing time management, it really became one of the biggest life skills. Of course, I think of so many, my favorite part of going to UCF was the acting, all of the acting across the board. And so those apply for everything. But if there was to be a life lesson that I so apply, it is definitely time management to get it all done.
So what was the audition process like for Hamilton?
I went in for Hamilton in the room 9 times. This was over a span of 2 years. I was up for almost every company up until the Philip tour. It was just a series of dance auditions and then singing, and then there was a few that I was in to cover. So they were just, a bunch of very, you learn a lot of the material from the show and the auditions. They need to see a lot of different things. So we did a lot of different numbers in the auditions, and then I sang. And it just kind of went back and forth until there was like the right spot. And that's what they talk about. They talk about, it being a puzzle, and everybody is a little bit of the puzzle piece. And so up until that point, I was a piece, but I wasn't for specific puzzles. So until the Philip tour was being created, I was a piece in the puzzle there. So that was really exciting.
Where were you when you found out you booked it?
I was actually home in Florida with my parents the day after Father's Day. And I remember sitting at my countertop and kind of being like bummed. There was I was up for a show at that point, and I had been kind of hanging, and it wasn't Hamilton that I was waiting for. And I'd been kind of bummed because it was like a few weeks that I hadn't heard anything, and I was just saying to my parents, like, oh man, like I'm really getting nervous because my savings was, getting down there. And sure enough, like in the same breath of saying that, my agent called, and my parents were on the other side of the countertop for that, and we celebrated with some champagne right after. So it was really cool. That was really exciting.
What was your role, and what was the most challenging aspect of it?
My role in Hamilton was woman number 1. The most challenging aspect of that role is singing so high, because I was the top part in the harmony of all the women in the ensemble. And so sorry, he just wants another toy. It was singing that high part and dancing at the same time. It takes a lot of care and a lot of warming up, and that was the hardest part of that role. But I loved that. I loved that part. I love singing on the top part in the harmonies. It's my favorite part, and it kind of makes you feel like you can conquer the world when you can do that. So it was a lot of fun.
What was your favorite part about being in Hamilton?
Oh my gosh, that's a really hard question too. My favorite part about being in Hamilton was, number one, seeing how many people got to experience musical theater because of it. There were a lot of people around the country who had never been to a musical. And that show, of course, because it's a blockbuster show, it was really cool to see so many different walks of life going to this show and seeing themselves on stage. And it was a big part of, you know, what the creatives wanted was they wanted everybody in the audience to see someone up there that resembled them, and just, you know, and that's what was really cool about being a part of that show. There's so many cool things, but I will say, like, off the top of my head, that was like a really cool aspect for sure.
So with touring, it can be very challenging physically and mentally. How did you stay healthy on tour?
There are so many different ways that are really important to stay healthy, both mentally and physically. Mentally, you just got to find your thing that's fun. My thing was actually to get my puppy. Once I got him, I went out more. I got to meet a lot of locals, which was really cool. And it was just a great little thing to come home to every day and wake up to every day. I also joined Orange Theory about halfway through the contract. Actually, a little bit more than halfway through the contract, because it took a while for my body to get used to doing the show. So I wasn't working out a ton for the first probably about 6 months. I would do like weights here and there to like keep my body, you know, balanced, because if you do the same movement every day, your body can get off a little bit. And so that was a way to keep my body up. And to stay healthy on tour, you got to make sure that you warm up, eat right, just to be able to do the job itself. So those are all like Spark Notes versions of ways to stay healthy on tour.
Was there a specific number that you like performing the most out of all of them?
I love doing Yorktown. It was so much fun. We had a really great time up there for that one.
What was your biggest takeaway from the whole experience?
Oh my gosh, that experience changed my life. I got to work with the most incredible people, both creatively on the creative side and both like on stage every day. And I got to meet a lot of cool people around the country that I still keep in touch with to this day, which is really great. So it definitely changed my life, and it's changed my career in the sense of like how I approach, you know, every job afterwards. It really is a life-changing show, and I think anybody who's done it or seen it can attest to that. And so I would say that.
You also played Liz in Chicago. What did you most enjoy about that role?
I loved getting to, you know, in Hamilton, I had one line, I believe. Of course, we're singing the whole entire time, but it was really cool to have a character in the sense of who told a story every day, and in the form of a monologue. And so, and she is she can have a really quite comical side to her. So it was fun sussing out the way things landed, and you know, she's a toughie. She's a tough woman, and I had a really good time getting to know her over the course of the 6 weeks I was down there.
What was a typical day in your life like when you were performing in Jupiter?
I performed at the Maltz Jupiter Theater in Jupiter, Florida. And we were down there for only 6 weeks. It was very quick. The first 3 weeks were rehearsals. So we were there from 10 to 6. And that just consists of basically learning the whole show in 10 to 6 for 3 weeks. 6 days a week out of the 7. We had 1 day off a week. And your brain is kind of fried at the end of the day. I mean, learning a show, I've found it definitely is like, you got to come home and like decompress and like just so it can all get soaked in. And so that was what was really cool and fun about that, is that I learned that it takes your entire energy and existence to be able to do those things. And that's really what I love about musical theater, is that you can leave your life at the door and then just go and focus on something for a few hours. It was great. Once we were done with rehearsals and we were in show mode, I would take Ernie to the dog beach in the morning. Actually, no, I would work out first at Orange Theory. Then I would take Ernie to the dog beach, and then would just like kind of, I mean, it was so short. The show only ran for 2.5 weeks. So I really was like prepping to come back to New York and getting life things done, because it was, you know, the first of the year as well. And then we go do the show. So that's what that was like.
Do you prefer touring or acting in a specific theater?
I have toured a lot. In my 5 years of living in New York City, I have toured for 2.5 of those. And I will say it was a great 2.5 years of my life. I did 2 different tours. I did the Joseph tour and then the Hamilton tour. And it was really cool. I was sitting down with someone just a few days ago that, you know, he was like, you know, what states have you been to? And I was like, at this point, like, what states haven't I been to? Which is a really cool thing to say, because I don't think a lot of people can say that. I've been to about 48 of the 50 states because of touring. So I feel very privileged to say that. This country is beautiful, and it was great to be able to work. But it is nice to be in one place, and I will say that. And that is my goal right now, career-wise, is to stay in one place. And so that's what we're trying to work for here in New York City.
With auditions, is it constantly juggling a job at the same time, or do you set aside time to audition?
I am very grateful that I do not have to have a side job at the moment. So I am fully available for auditions at all times. I do, of course, like keep myself available to do, you know, little gigs here and there outside of auditioning, but auditioning is the #1 right now in my life. So there's that one.
What advice do you have for aspiring performers or dancers who might want to do this professionally?
My advice is to, you know, really, like, it's so crazy because I tell myself this every day. Don't give up. Don't give up. You're going to have up days and you're going to have down days. I was just up for about 5 things in the last like 2 weeks, which is so exciting. But in the course of 48 hours, they all got released, and I am now back to square one. And that's a part of like the business that a lot of the public doesn't know about. And so that's just kind of the ups and downs of theater and commercials and TV. I mean, you know, it's the span of all between all of those. But so what I urge people to find, and you know, don't take this as an assignment, more of just like a joy. Find something that makes you happy, and keep those things in mind when you are in between jobs or in between, you know, what your highs, you know. And so that would be my biggest advice.
Thank you so much, Abby, for your time and for being on Val's Pop Culture Talk.
So, thank you so much for asking me to do this. I'm so honored. Until next time.